Hi everybody, it's Mike here, and today I'm taking a look at the HDZero system, and this is my first time trying this, and I got it for a couple of reasons. Number one, I wanted to be able to build slightly lighter digital quads than I had been building, and also I wanted to make use of my Eachine EV300O goggles, which these are more or less the same as the SkyZone 040s, but just have slightly smaller OLED displays and optics on the inside, but otherwise pretty much the same, so I wanted to make use of those nice OLEDs. And for the moment, HDZero is the only one that's making a standalone VRX so that you can continue to use your current goggles as long as it has an HDMI input. And here's how that little short cable routes here that's included. That works pretty well. And also the fan mount that the HDZero VRX uses also works on the Eachine EV300Os and I think by extension the SkyZones. And I think it's designed specifically for fat sharks, so it will definitely fit those. So we're pretty happy with how that turned out. And I just got 4 relatively inexpensive MenaceRC circular antennas just so I could get 4 of those without breaking the bank, since I already spent the money on this and the Whoop Lite board, which is what's installed in this kind of a Frankencube. This is a Diatone Cube frame with a T-motor feather 120 canopy. And the story behind that is, well, my original idea with HDZero was to install it on this T-motor feather 120 to try to build like a super quiet 1S digital build. And I was able to install it in there, and I did fly it, but it wasn't great. I think adding the extra 5 grams for the digital system over the analog was kind of ruining how it felt. And I could have worked on maybe tuning out some of the shakiness that was inherent in the new build, but in one of my test flights, this thing, for some reason, it just fell out of the sky. Just started flipping out and fell down to the ground and broke this arm, as you can see. And I don't know what caused it to flip out. It didn't seem to be a video problem because the video was running the whole time. And the voltage seemed fine through the whole crash, so I'm not sure exactly what happened, but this crashed, and it wasn't a very clean break on the arm, and I didn't think I could fix it very well. So I thought, well, maybe I'll abandon that idea, and I'll go up to make something a little bit more robust, maybe 2S. So that's what I've ended up here with. So this is just with the parts I had laying around, Diatone Cube frame, and I'm still using the T-motor feather canopy, which I actually liked. I'll talk about that in a second. And this Hi-Fi OnRC, it's a 2 to 6S 25 amp board. It's a little bit overkill for something this size, and you could save a few grams going with a lighter board, and also maybe one with built-in ELRS, but I'm running an external ELRS receiver, which you can maybe see inside of there, right there. And then these motors are Zing 1202 8000 kV, and these are the same 3024 props that were on the T-motor feather. And so the reason I wanted to use this canopy was that, well, I actually kind of liked how it was holding the HDZero camera, which does actually fit in the opening. And the only thing was I did have to glue the camera in, and that was actually a good chance to use this UV glue. And my parents actually sent this to me years ago, and finally it came in handy. This UV glue actually is really good because it's non-destructive, so you could pop this camera out if you need to, but it holds it pretty well, and it's also a little bit flexible and quite easy to use. Just put a little drop above where the camera sits, install the camera, and then shine the little UV light on the glue, and it cures it right away within seconds, and it's pretty much ready to go. And it's been holding in there just fine ever since. So a nice solution there. And then let's see. And so installed in this build, well, first of all, the HDZero system, the board, and the camera itself weigh about 7 grams. So that's super light versus maybe 2 or 3 grams for this lightest analog setup. So you're going to be adding about 5 grams over even the lightest analog setup, but still not bad when you're dealing with something like this. That's ended up being about 60 grams. So it's about double the weight of the feather. But it's running on 2S, and I still was having a really excellent performance, and it was still really quiet. Not quite as quiet as the feather, which is virtually silent, but still really quiet. I don't think you'd bug anybody flying around with this, even at full punch-out. Wasn't bad at all. So quite happy with how that turned out. And like I said, 60 grams for this before the battery. And depending on the battery, you could probably get it up to about 90 grams with the pretty heavy, not a heavy, but pretty high capacity 662S, which is what I was running it with today, and getting about 5 or 6 minutes flight time. So now as for the image quality of the HDZero, I am pretty happy with how it looks, especially in the OLED goggles. Looks really terrific. But the ceiling of the HDZero is like, 720p 60. And when you fly behind things or get some interference, you're going to see like the sparklies. So those are like the disadvantages to HDZero versus like DJI, I think has a higher ceiling for image quality. And also with the walk-snail system, although I think walk-snail at the moment, the software seems a little bit not quite fully optimized yet, but I think the ceiling for that image quality is going to be higher. And it's been more or less confirmed that walk-snail will be coming out with 1S boards and smaller cameras and maybe even a VRX, in which case some of the advantages for HDZero, some of the practical advantages for HDZero might actually go away. But I'm sure they aren't sitting still either, and will be coming up with maybe smaller and better things, but for the time being, for now, this is still, I think, the lightest and best HD solution if you want to keep using your current goggles and you want to build something that's small and light like this, and very simple to wire up. Just it just needs 5 volts and 2 amps from the back, and then just the TX and RX. You just need a spare UART to run the OSD and everything like this. And also the firmware updating was pretty straightforward on the HDZero system. Just have to put the firmware on the SD card, put it in the goggles, and then if you need to update the VTX, just use this little adapter cable from the VRX to the VTX and install the new firmware. That's pretty straightforward. So no problems with that. Didn't need to use this remote for camera settings. You just do it all with stick commands for the VTX and for the camera. And so anyway, let me show you a little bit of how the flight looked. I was using some of the, I think the UAV Tech toothpick preset for this, and also the BlueJ ESC software for bidirectional D-shot, and all those things together, RPM filtering and everything. I think I had made this a really nice flying little machine with great looking picture, especially on the goggles from the HDZero.